What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's video, reacting to 5 tips that will make you a better bass player by Lesson Face. If you have not already, as per usual, please go and give Lesson Face a sub. I've also included the link for the original video in the description below. Please go there and click on the link and actually give the original video a like. And on this video, my video, leave a comment on whatever you would like to see me reacting to next. Now, let's get to it.
Hi everybody, my name is Jonit Spiegelman and I'm a bass player from New York City, and I'm also a teacher on lessonface.com, and I'm here today to help you become a better bass player. Maybe you feel like you're an okay bass player, but you're still missing some stuff. The band members are still giving you some nasty faces, so you're in the right place because I'm gonna give you 5 tips for how to sound way better very fast, okay? So first tip, don't use your open strings for almost anything. Okay, so
I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. That depends on what you're actually playing. For example, I see she has a 4-string. So if you want a low E, there's no substitute. If you want an A, you can play the 5th fret of that E string, but it also depends what kind of passage you're playing. A lot of the stuff that I do, which really do utilize using a pedal note that would be an open note, it depends on what you're doing. I'd like to think she's going to go a little more in depth on that.
So if you're using your open string, it should be for like this big note in the end, usually. Or maybe if you're just having it as a passing note. But don't use it in the regular, natural song structure, because this is how it's going to sound like.
Well, yeah.
Lovely.
Obviously, but you can still play the open strings and mute the other strings properly, and not just have the straight. If you want more of a bum 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 bum, that requires some muting that you can do with the right hand or the left hand. You can still use the open notes. I see what she's getting at, but yeah, obviously you don't go that way.
This is how it's supposed to sound like. So you can see that when you play it and you have the open strings, you have this natural sustain that you don't really control. One of the main things that you want to do and avoid by not playing.
You can still control it with proper muting. I do disagree there. I understand what she means. She's basically saying play cleanly, but you can play cleanly with open notes.
Those open strings is control your tone and never have this kind of sustained string. Okay, so make sure that you do that. Second tip, never sacrifice the beat for a fill. So a lot of times when I used to go, when I used to still study bass and I went to these bass clinics, I just saw all the bass players going. So, well, first of all, if you don't do it with a metronome, this is worth nothing. Second of all, this is not where our power is. Our power is with really keeping the beat. So if you make this fill, and fills are nice, don't get me wrong, they really do add a lot, but if you really put all your attention in this like huge fill, but you miss the beat in the end, that's not going to be worth much, that fill, because we...
In other words, what she's saying is just play tastefully. This I agree with wholeheartedly. And it's highly unfortunate, but again, I'm brought back to the old saying, all the money on the bass is from the 7th fret down. Most of the time, what you're going to be hired for as a bass player, as much as we all love Victor Wooten, Billy Sheehan, and all those fantastic players, we're not going to be hired to play bass solos, to play our killer fills. They want a good groove that brings the song together cohesively. Most of the time, you're going to be just filling up the pocket and keeping the groove. That's basically what she's trying to say. And if you are doing a fill, make sure that you're not leaving an empty spot in that groove where that fill should be. It should mean something. The best way to do a fill would be transitioning from section to section. For example, from chorus going into verse or vice versa, from verse going into chorus. And then you're right back on that main groove.
You really got to lay down that groove. So check this out.
Yeah, perfect. Overplaying. Okay, I understand what you're saying, but not only did she go for a big long fill there's a couple sketchy notes and she didn't actually come back on time. Yes, do not overplay. If you want to play lines like that, you're probably going to have to be in like a jazz group or a progressive rock group if you want to be able to overplay like that, so to speak.
Don't do that. Don't do that. So the third tip, also very, very important. Keep it simple and keep it consistent. Okay, so this is also something that I see a lot of times when I have my bass lessons, when I have my group bass lessons, is that bass players always want to play. I guess maybe, I don't know, maybe they came from guitar or something. But it seems like they're just playing too many notes when really, you know, the most famous bass kind of, you know, groovy songs that we know really have those simple bass lines. Okay?
But groovy.
So
simple but groovy.
When you're starting to play too busy, really, it just sounds like solo. And when was the last time you heard a bass solo in a rock or pop tune? Okay? So I'm going to demonstrate what it feels like to keep it simple, keep it easy, keep it consistent, versus playing way too busy.
Funky. Sounds like Jamiroquai. Obviously, that is way too many notes.
Simple?
Now, you could put one of those little riffs that she's working in there every now and again as a little fill in between each 4 or 8 bars. That would be all right. This one, she's actually executing the overplaying perfectly, but it's still overplayed, quite overplayed. But yeah, she's absolutely right. It's almost the same as the second. And again, always back to the saying that all the money on the bass is from the 7th fret down.
Tip number 4. Okay, very important as well, and you should listen to this one, because if you're not going to do this, I can pretty much guarantee you're going to get fired from the gig that you are playing in right now. So, tip number 4 may seem kind of obvious for some, but always, and I mean always, start playing with the root. Okay? The root note. We're here to play the root note. Sometimes I'm getting hired.
Actually, the challenge for most bass players is to play something a little bit different than the root note. But yes, most of us bass players do know. If not, you should know. Absolutely. Always start with the root note. Even if you're playing jazz stuff and you're going to outline the chord and play the arpeggio, you always start with phrasing with that root note. There's another old saying. We don't know what the chord is until the bass player decides what note to play. So like with a D major chord, a lot of people like being a little tricky and then using an F sharp in the bass, which you can use, but maybe as like a little chromatic walking thing. I wouldn't say starting and holding on the F sharp over a D major chord would necessarily be a good idea. It has worked, it can work, but yes, you should be really leaning on that root note and everything gets based, huh? See what I did there? Off of that.
Strictly just to play the root note. If you start playing something else, and this could be, if you had some theory classes, that's great, that you can play the third, the fifth, the seventh, but yeah, that doesn't really work. If you want to do that, you can go to a different instrument, literally every other different instrument, but we need to start playing with the root note. You know what happens otherwise? You change the chord. We have that power, and with power comes great responsibility. Okay?
Spider-Man.
It's gonna change the whole song. Check it out.
Sounds almost a little out of tune, too. Because I'm not resolving on the root note. Not phrasing the root note sounds kind of out of tune. Little chorusy affecting sounding.
So tip number 5, our last tip for today, also very, very, very important. And you notice that this is actually especially for the intermediate bass players, because this is by the time that you get to know your theory a little bit. And this one is also because it's very important, because sometimes when we get to know our neck a little bit better, we start climbing up and we say, oh, okay, like we have this C, but I can also go to this C. There's a difference. And there's a reason why many times I tell my students, this is the money-making zone. That's where it happens for us as bass players. You can see that the sound is the punchiest. Okay, if I do all this here, it's a little bit more subtle. Okay, so one reason to keep it down, literally keep it down, I guess.
You're the bass player.
Is because of the texture, right? But another thing is that, okay, so I know that I have my C over here. I know I have my C over here. I have also my C over here, my C over here. That doesn't mean you have to play all of them, okay? Because if you go up,
I know I'm going to screw this up, but that's okay. People in the comments will correct me. Was it Miles Davis that said, why play all the notes when only the right ones will do? Correct me. Not only did I probably screw up the quote itself, but it might not have been Miles Davis. If I am actually right, good for me. Make my arm, pat myself on the back.
it's like you drop the bass, and you don't want to drop the bass as the bass player. Okay, so let's see the difference between the textures when I play something up the octave versus when I play it down, and we can even try to see the differences when I go to a different part of the neck that does have the same note, but is a little bit different.
It does sound a little out of tune almost.
So, let's see. We had
that's solo
5
time.
tips for today. First one, try to avoid the open strings. Second one, never sacrifice the bit for a feel. Always focus on the beat. Third one, keep it simple, keep it consistent, don't overplay.
Yes.
Fourth one, always, always, always start playing with the root. Don't start playing without the root. Don't change
98%
the
of the
chords.
time.
Fifth one, stick to the bottom. That's where the magic happens. That's where
That's
the
where the
bass
money
playing
happens.
stays. I would say 99% of the
where the
bass playing
money
should be
happens.
here. Well, maybe 95% of the bass playing should be here, and then 5% should be awesome things that you've been working on for a long time to accompany that. But don't forget to keep it simple. The fact that you have information doesn't mean that you have to use it all the time. That's our secret as bass players. So hopefully these tips help you and you got to realize some stuff that maybe you were doing wrong before. If you need any other bass tips, you're more than welcome to go to lessonface.com, book a lesson with me, and we'll just keep on working on your bass playing and make sure that you become a better bass player. Have fun!
All right, so that was reacting to 5 tips that'll make you a better bass player by Lesson Face. Again, if you've not already subscribed to Lesson Face, please go ahead and give them a sub. I've also included the original link for the original video in the description below. Please go and click on that and give that a like. And on this video, my video, leave a comment on what you would like to see me react to next. Thanks for checking out this video. If you like what you saw, please subscribe, click the notification bell, like, comment, and share. It doesn't cost a thing and would really help out the channel. Also, please subscribe to my other channel, GK Mac Music, for some live looping live streams with a side of jackassery, some original music, and some short content, also with a side of jackassery. If you'd like to help out the channel financially, you can buy some merch at the merch store, or you can become a channel member. As always, everyone, thanks so much for your continued support. Do what makes you happy.